You think the market cares about your excuses? That it'll wait while you feel overwhelmed, tired, or uncertain? It doesn't. The market doesn't slow down because you're having a rough week. It doesn't care if you're stressed, burnt out, or doubting yourself. It doesn't reward comfort, it rewards execution. Every second you spend thinking about how you feel is a second someone else is solving the problem, delivering value, and taking the opportunities you're letting slip. Customers don't call you because you're ready. They call because you're ready. They call because they need solutions, and they'll get them from whoever provides them first. Investors don't wait for your emotions to align. They invest in results, in momentum, in proof. Competitors don't pause to accommodate your feelings. They adapt, they execute, they win. You can choose to sit back, to feel justified in your hesitation, to hope the market bends for you. Or you can step in, act, and deliver relentlessly, knowing the only thing that matters is whether the work gets done, whether the value reaches the people who need it, whether you produce outcomes that can't be ignored. The market doesn't care about your comfort, your fear, or your self-doubt. It only cares about what you do. In the world of business, one truth that cannot be avoided is that emotions have no currency. The moment you step into the marketplace, all the feelings you carry, fear, doubt, anxiety, excitement, even optimism, do not translate into outcomes. They are invisible to the people who matter, your customers, your investors, your partners, and your competitors. While you may feel justified in hesitating, in overthinking, in letting your mood dictate your decisions, the market is indifferent. It does not pause for your lack of confidence, and it does not reward you for feeling motivated or passionate. What it responds to is action, and what it measures is results. Business is fundamentally an arena of cause and effect, where every move produces consequences, and those consequences are evaluated objectively without sentiment. Success does not come from wishing, hoping, or feeling ready. It comes from doing consistently, even when your emotions tell you otherwise. Many people fall into the trap of assuming that business is somehow linked to how they feel. They believe that if they feel confident, the work will be easier. If they feel inspired, the deals will close faster. Or if they feel motivated, growth will come naturally. The reality is starkly different. Motivation is fleeting, inspiration is unreliable, and confidence fluctuates. There will be days when your mind screams to give up, when frustration and doubt threaten to paralyze you, and when fear convinces you to wait for the right moment. Those feelings do not matter to the market. A client's need doesn't pause because you feel insecure. A competitor's advancement does not stop because you feel overwhelmed. The reality is that action precedes feeling, not the other way around. You do not wait for courage to arrive. You generate it through the process of execution. Emotions are internal. Results are external. This distinction is critical. Your internal state is personal, subjective, and constantly shifting. Results exist in the world outside of you. They are tangible, measurable, and undeniable. A sale made, a client served, a product launched, a campaign executed. These are results. They're the only things that stakeholders, including yourself, will measure at the end of the day. You can feel like a genius, motivated, and unstoppable. But if your product doesn't meet a need, if your service fails to deliver, if your marketing doesn't reach the right audience, your feelings are irrelevant. The market is objective, and objectivity does not bend to sentiment. Understanding this creates a mental shift. Your focus is no longer on how you feel, but on what you produce. This principle also applies to dealing with setbacks. Rejection, failure, and loss are inevitable in business, and they will provoke strong emotions. It is natural to feel disappointment, frustration, or even anger when things do not go as planned. However, the market does not adjust for your emotional state. A lost client is gone regardless of how crushed you feel. A failed campaign does not pause to give you time to recover. If you dwell on emotions, you slow down, and every moment of delay has consequences. Successful entrepreneurs and leaders recognize that emotions are signals, not directives. They inform you, but they do not control you. They notice the feeling of fear, frustration, or excitement, and then act in alignment with objectives, knowing that only tangible progress counts. Emotions can also be deceptive. They can convince you that you are ready when you are not, or that you are unprepared when you actually have everything needed to move forward. Confidence can be mistaken for competence, and discomfort can be misread as failure. Business outcomes are impartial. They do not care whether you feel skilled or inexperienced, capable or unworthy. They only respond to the execution of strategy, to the delivery of value, and to the ability to solve problems. This is why relying on emotion as a guide is dangerous. Decisions driven purely by feelings are often reactive, inconsistent, and inefficient. They are prone to bias, procrastination, and overanalysis. By contrast, decisions based on objective evaluation and action are reliable and scalable. To thrive in business, it is essential to internalize that emotions are a luxury you cannot afford. They are signals to be acknowledged, but not commands to be obeyed. The moment you accept that the market is indifferent to your feelings, you free yourself from paralysis and self-deception. You start to operate in reality, which is measured by deliverables, not moods. Every task you complete, every deal you close, every problem you solve moves you forward, whether you feel like it or not. Progress is built in action, not in contemplation. This perspective also reframes the concept of motivation. Many people believe they need to feel motivated to act. In truth, motivation is a byproduct, not a prerequisite. It arises after consistent work and small wins. You do not wait to feel motivated, you act, and motivation follows because progress is visible. Emotional states shift constantly, but results compound. A single action taken consistently over time produces momentum that eventually outweighs transient feelings. Businesses succeed not because the leader feels like acting today, but because they acted yesterday, the day before, and the day before that. The market does not reset for moods. It rewards momentum. The consequence of ignoring this principle is wasted time and missed opportunities. Every hour spent waiting for the right mood is an hour your competitors are taking action. Every decision postponed due to emotional discomfort is a decision someone else is making to capture value. In contrast, those who master the separation of emotion and action gain leverage. They understand that discomfort is part of the process, that uncertainty is inevitable, and that the market only responds to execution. They act decisively, learn quickly from results, and adjust where needed. Over time, this mindset builds resilience, efficiency, and credibility because the outcomes they produce cannot be disputed. Ultimately, embracing the relevance of emotions in business is about reclaiming control. You cannot control how you feel, but you can control what you do. You cannot force the market to bend to your comfort, but you can deliver value consistently and reliably. Every time you act despite discomfort, every time you produce results despite fear, you reinforce a truth that the market itself enforces. Feelings do not matter. Outcomes do. This principle underpins every successful business decision, every high-performing entrepreneur's mindset, and every leader who scales beyond limitations. It demands discipline, courage, and relentless focus. It forces you to operate in reality rather than perception, to prioritize execution over sentiment, and to measure success by tangible impact rather than emotional satisfaction. When you internalize that emotions are irrelevant and results are everything, you begin to navigate business with clarity, efficiency, and unstoppable momentum. The market is an unforgiving and impartial force. It does not care about who you are, what you want, or how you feel. It is guided by one simple principle: people exchange resources for value. When you offer something that solves a problem, fulfills a need, or improves someone's life, you create demand, and if supply meets that demand efficiently, you generate results. The market does not recognize excuses or personal narratives. It does not reward stories of hardship, moments of struggle, or emotional appeals. It responds strictly to what is delivered, the quality of the offer, and the timing of the execution. Those who succeed understand that the market is not negotiable. It is indifferent to human sentiment and highly selective in its rewards. Business outcomes are determined by clear, observable metrics, not by how convincingly someone can justify a delay or rationalize a missed opportunity. Many people enter the marketplace expecting it to bend in their favor, assuming that personal effort or intention alone should be enough. They believe that their passion, their dedication, or their enthusiasm should guarantee success. But the market is not designed to accommodate feelings. It does not applaud hard work unless that work translates into tangible value. Customers do not care about the hours you put in or the struggles you endured. They care about whether their needs are met. Investors are not moved by the hardships behind your startup. They're moved by the measurable growth and profit potential of your business. Competitors do not wait for you to catch up. They innovate, produce, and capture opportunities continuously. This reality is both harsh and liberating. Harsh because it strips away the comfort of self-justification, and liberating because it provides a clear framework for action, focused on creating measurable value. Understanding supply and demand is critical. Supply is what you provide, whether it is a product, service, knowledge, or solution. Demand is the measurable need or desire for that offering in the market. Value is the intersection of these two, the perception and tangible impact that your offering has on the recipient. If you miscalculate supply or fail to meet demand, the market ignores you. It does not matter that you tried hard or meant well. The market will reward those who produce offerings that align precisely with demand and deliver superior value efficiently. This is why countless talented, hardworking individuals fail. Their effort does not necessarily equate to market fit or relevance. The metric of success is not intention or effort. It is results achieved through value delivered at scale. Excuses have no weight in the system. It is common for people to rationalize missed deadlines, failed projects, or slow progress with reasons rooted in personal circumstances. They blame timing, resources, or external challenges for why things are not moving faster. The market does not validate these excuses. Potential customer does not care if you had a rough week. They care if their problem is solved today. A competitor does not pause to allow you to regroup. They seize the opportunity immediately. Every excuse not turned into action is a lost chance for impact and profit. High-performing individuals recognize this and cultivate an accountability mindset. No excuses, only execution. They anticipate obstacles, but they do not let them dictate outcomes. They operate with the understanding that the market will proceed with or without them, and they must produce value to remain relevant. Another crucial element is the importance of perception and value. People do not only respond to the objective utility of a product or service, they respond to the perceived value, which is shaped by presentation, accessibility, and credibility. If you miscommunicate value, the market may ignore you regardless of the actual quality of your offering. Conversely, when value is communicated clearly, effectively, and repeatedly, the market responds immediately and decisively. Sympathy or personal justification will never compensate for a lack of perceived value. The market measures outcomes, not narratives. The business that succeeds is not the one with the most passionate founder, but the one whose supply meets demand most effectively and whose value proposition resonates with the target audience. This principle also highlights the role of timing. Opportunities in the market are fleeting. Demand fluctuates constantly, and supply must adapt accordingly. The first mover advantage, responsiveness, and the ability to pivot quickly are far more valuable than waiting for ideal conditions or emotional readiness. Market dynamics do not pause for preparation or indecision. They reward those who act decisively and who adjust quickly when conditions change. Waiting for the perfect moment, waiting to feel ready, or waiting for sympathy from others is not only unnecessary, it is detrimental. The market operates on its own schedule, and those who align with it thrive. Furthermore, this concept reinforces the importance of objectivity in business decisions. Emotional biases, attachment to ideas, and personal comfort can cloud judgment. When supply, demand, and value are analyzed objectively, decisions become data-driven, strategic, and effective. Leaders who succeed in competitive markets cultivate the ability to evaluate their offerings without ego and to adjust based on market response rather than personal preference. They observe metrics, listen to customer feedback, and pivot where necessary, always keeping supply aligned with demand and maximizing value. Emotions may serve as signals of human experience, but they do not dictate market success. Finally, this principle emphasizes accountability and responsibility. Every action or inaction has consequences in the market. If you fail to meet demand, deliver value, or act on opportunity, the market moves on. It does not wait for reflection or consolation. Understanding this creates a mindset of relentless execution. Every product launched, every service delivered, and every interaction with a client becomes a deliberate, results-focused act. You recognize that you are accountable, not for how you feel, but for what you produce and how the market responds to it. This mindset eliminates excuses, sharpens focus, and creates a foundation for long-term, sustainable success. Success is never a product of comfort. It does not arrive when conditions are perfect, when your energy is high, or when motivation is abundant. In fact, waiting for ideal circumstances is the most common way to guarantee stagnation. The reality is that the path to achievement is paved with moments of exhaustion, uncertainty, and frustration. Every individual who has reached a meaningful level of accomplishment has confronted days when the effort felt unbearable, when doubts threatened to paralyze action, and when the mind screamed to stop. Yet, the market does not recognize hesitation or inaction. Progress is measured by results, not by comfort. And those who achieve recognize that action is the bridge between intention and outcome, regardless of internal resistance. Waiting to feel ready or inspired is a luxury reserved for those who are content with mediocrity. Tiredness, frustration, and uncertainty are inevitable components of any pursuit worth pursuing. They emerge from pushing boundaries, challenging norms, and striving to solve problems that have no immediate solution. The first step is acknowledging that these feelings are natural, but that they are not determinative. Feeling tired does not diminish your responsibility to act, nor does frustration excuse inaction. Uncertainty is inherent in every endeavor because the future is unpredictable. Every successful entrepreneur, leader, or creator has learned that mastery lies not in avoiding discomfort, but in developing the discipline to act despite it. It is in those moments of resistance that action becomes most valuable, because each step forward reinforces competence, builds momentum, and creates tangible results. Many people confuse motivation with necessity. They believe that if they do not feel motivated, they should postpone action. This is a flawed approach because motivation is not a prerequisite, it is a byproduct. Acting consistently in the absence of motivation produces the very sense of confidence and energy that people mistakenly wait for. Taking action when tired or frustrated is what transforms potential into results. It generates momentum, which compounds over time and gradually shifts perception from "I cannot" to "I can." Each action, no matter how small, becomes proof of capability, and each proof strengthens the willingness to continue acting in future moments of difficulty. By contrast, waiting for the perfect emotional state creates a cycle of stagnation, reinforcing fear, self-doubt, and procrastination. Uncertainty is one of the most challenging barriers to overcome. The unknown creates discomfort, and discomfort is a powerful psychological deterrent. People naturally seek safety, predictability, and control. But the market and the world of achievement do not operate under those conditions. Success requires navigating ambiguity, making decisions with incomplete information, and moving forward without guarantees. Those who hesitate until certainty arrives are consistently outpaced by those willing to take calculated risks. Action in the face of uncertainty is a statement of resilience. It signals a commitment to outcomes rather than a dependence on favorable conditions. This willingness to act despite risk is what separates high performers from those who merely dream of success. Frustration is another common obstacle. It emerges when results do not align with effort, when progress feels slow, or when challenges seem insurmountable. The natural response is to resist, to stop, or to seek an easier path. However, frustration is often a signal that growth is occurring. It indicates that you are operating outside your comfort zone, stretching skills, and confronting limitations that must be overcome to achieve meaningful outcomes. Action in these moments is transformative because it converts negative energy into progress. Each deliberate step, each task completed despite frustration, accumulates into measurable achievement. Over time, repeated action under pressure develops resilience, mental toughness, and an ability to endure discomfort without letting it dictate behavior. The concept of consistency is central to acting despite emotional or physical states. Consistency is not contingent upon feeling ready, motivated, or inspired. It is a commitment to process and discipline independent of internal fluctuations. By creating habits that prioritize action over emotion, individuals reduce the influence of temporary states and increase the probability of achieving results. For example, a leader who commits to sending proposals daily, making calls, or executing projects regardless of mood ensures that progress continues even when energy is low. These repeated actions accumulate into results that ultimately define success, illustrating that perseverance is more important than emotion. Acting under these conditions also fosters clarity in learning. When you move forward despite uncertainty, tiredness, or frustration, you generate feedback. Each action produces data that informs decision-making, highlights gaps, and uncovers opportunities. In contrast, inaction provides no insight, no evidence, and no progress. The market responds to action, not contemplation, and those who act continually, even imperfectly, gain a competitive advantage. Each movement forward reduces ambiguity, clarifies priorities, and builds the confidence to navigate future challenges. This process trains the mind to associate effort with growth rather than relying on fleeting emotions for guidance. The principle extends to the management of fear, hesitation, and doubt. Fear often accompanies uncertainty, frustration, and fatigue. Hesitation can arise from the desire for perfection or the illusion of control. Doubt stems from comparing oneself to others or questioning capabilities. Acting despite these emotions is what separates potential from achievement. Each action taken in the presence of fear or doubt strengthens competence and builds proof of capability. It replaces speculation with evidence and uncertainty with results. Over time, this practice develops an inner framework in which action becomes the default response, rather than waiting for favorable emotional conditions. Finally, embracing action in challenging moments cultivates a mindset of accountability and ownership. It shifts the focus from external conditions to internal control, emphasizing what can be done rather than what is felt. Individuals who act despite tiredness, frustration, and uncertainty understand that results are the ultimate measure of performance. They stop negotiating with their emotions and start negotiating with reality, producing outcomes that matter, learning from setbacks, and adapting quickly. Success becomes a reflection of deliberate effort and persistent execution, rather than transient states of mind. Success does not wait for motivation, and the idea that you need to feel inspired before taking action is one of the most common traps that hold people back. Motivation is fleeting, unpredictable, and often unreliable. It comes and goes depending on mood, circumstances, or external factors, and if you allow yourself to depend on it, you will consistently fall short of your goals. Real progress is built on discipline, consistency, and a willingness to act even when the emotional conditions are not favorable. The reality is that action produces results, and results are what generate the momentum and clarity that people mistake for motivation. The most effective individuals recognize that waiting for the perfect feeling is a luxury the market does not afford, and that consistent effort is the only dependable pathway to success. The misconception that motivation is necessary before action leads many to procrastinate. They wait for the surge of energy, the feeling of inspiration, or the alignment of circumstances that will supposedly make the work easier or more enjoyable. The problem is that such moments rarely arrive in a sustained or reliable way. Waiting for them often becomes a cycle of delay, excuse-making, and missed opportunities. People who succeed understand that starting despite low energy or emotional hesitation is the key differentiator between stagnation and progress. Acting without motivation is a skill that requires mental fortitude, and it is cultivated by developing habits that prioritize action over feelings. By committing to action first, you create the conditions that generate energy, focus, and even motivation as a byproduct, rather than the other way around. Discipline becomes the foundation for acting independently of motivation. When action is guided by discipline, you create systems that do not rely on transient emotional states. This might involve structured routines, measurable targets, or non-negotiable deadlines. Discipline ensures that work continues even when excitement or enthusiasm is absent. High performers develop a framework where action is automatic and consistent, reducing the influence of fluctuating moods. Over time, this repeated behavior builds momentum, and the results themselves become self-reinforcing, producing the forward motion that many mistakenly attribute to motivation. Another aspect of this principle is understanding the illusion of readiness. Many people believe that they must feel fully prepared before acting, but readiness is rarely a prerequisite for progress. Waiting until every detail is perfect, or until you feel entirely capable, often leads to missed opportunities and stagnation. Action itself is what refines skills, reveals gaps, and produces learning. The moment you take steps toward your goals, you gain clarity, experience, and insight that were impossible to achieve through preparation alone. Acting without waiting for emotional or mental readiness accelerates growth and forces adaptation, which is essential in environments where conditions change rapidly and competition moves relentlessly. The difference between action and inaction underlines the disparity between intention and outcome. Many individuals have great ideas, ambitions, or plans, but if they fail to act consistently, those intentions remain inert. Action transforms ideas into measurable outcomes and demonstrates capability in the world. Motivation, on the other hand, is ephemeral. It may make you feel excited or inspired in the moment, but without follow-through, it produces nothing tangible. The market, clients, customers, and results themselves do not respond to intention or excitement. They respond to output, execution, and consistency. Acting despite a lack of motivation bridges the gap between what you hope to achieve and what you actually accomplish. Frustration, resistance, and fatigue often accompany the process of acting without motivation. It is common to feel reluctant, hesitant, or mentally drained when the work demands effort despite low emotional drive. These sensations are not indicators to stop. They are indicators that you are stretching beyond comfort, confronting challenges, and moving into growth territory. Action taken under resistance strengthens resilience, builds mental toughness, and enhances the ability to persist under conditions that might otherwise derail progress. Each step forward reinforces capability and accumulates into measurable advancement, which ultimately produces results that are objective and undeniable. Embracing action without motivation also develops a mindset that prioritizes outcomes over comfort. People who rely on feelings to dictate effort are constantly at the mercy of circumstances, energy levels, and external events. They measure their productivity by how they feel rather than what they produce, which creates a cycle of inconsistency and underperformance. By contrast, individuals who act regardless of emotional state train themselves to focus on tangible results. They understand that their feelings are temporary and that only output counts. This shift in perspective reduces procrastination, enhances focus, and fosters a level of self-reliance that is essential for achieving significant goals. Momentum is a natural consequence of consistent action. When you act despite a lack of motivation, even small achievements begin to compound. Each completed task, each problem solved, and each forward step builds confidence, clarity, and energy. Motivation often emerges as a byproduct of seeing progress and experiencing the results of your effort. What was previously elusive becomes more tangible, and the initial discomfort diminishes as you gain mastery and control over your process. This demonstrates that the source of sustainable progress is not waiting to feel motivated, but creating a system where action leads to movement, and movement generates the conditions that people often mistake for motivation. The principle also highlights accountability. Acting without motivation requires taking responsibility for your own outcomes rather than waiting for emotional readiness. You acknowledge that external or internal conditions are irrelevant compared to the necessity of producing results. By embracing this approach, individuals shift from a reactive mindset, where feelings dictate behavior, to a proactive mindset, where discipline, consistency, and deliberate effort determine achievement. This proactive orientation allows for sustained productivity, adaptability, and the ability to navigate obstacles without relying on fleeting emotional states. Taking action when motivation is absent cultivates resilience, skill, and confidence. It trains the mind to operate under pressure, to persist when conditions are difficult, and to focus on what can be controlled rather than what cannot. The pattern of acting first and feeling motivated later becomes ingrained, creating a feedback loop where consistent execution drives improvement, and improvement reinforces consistent execution. This mindset transforms challenges into opportunities, discomfort into growth, and inaction into measurable success, producing a level of performance that is independent of mood, energy, or external validation. Waiting for perfection or ideal conditions is one of the most common traps that prevents progress. Yet the reality is that the market does not wait for anyone. Opportunities exist in real time, and they are captured by those who act decisively, rather than those who wait for everything to feel just right. Perfection is an illusion, because the conditions for success are never flawless. Every business environment, every project, and every opportunity comes with uncertainty, risks, and challenges. Individuals who succeed understand that progress is built by taking action despite imperfections. They recognize that waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect team, or the perfect circumstances is a form of procrastination disguised as preparation, and it rarely leads to tangible outcomes. The truth is that the first mover advantage often outweighs flawless execution, and taking imperfect action positions you to learn, adapt, and improve along the way. Many people hesitate because they fear making mistakes or facing criticism. They believe that if they could only prepare more, analyze more, or refine their approach endlessly, success would be guaranteed. However, the reality is that preparation alone does not generate results. Execution generates results. Perfection cannot precede action. It emerges from iterative improvement based on feedback from real-world implementation. Every successful entrepreneur or professional has faced situations where initial attempts were flawed, yet these attempts provided critical learning and insight that ultimately led to greater success. The act of doing is what produces data, highlights gaps, and drives refinement. And those who wait for ideal conditions miss the opportunity to iterate, adapt, and progress. Another aspect is the role of timing. Opportunities are fleeting, and waiting for ideal circumstances can result in missed windows that will not reopen. Customers, clients, and markets move quickly, and competitors do not wait for hesitation or delay. The individual who acts under imperfect conditions gains the advantage of momentum, real-world feedback, and early positioning. Even when the execution is not perfect, the experience generates visibility, credibility, and actionable insights that cannot be gained by remaining idle. Action under imperfect conditions demonstrates initiative and courage, and it produces tangible results that attract further opportunities, resources, and collaborations. Perfectionism also creates unnecessary complexity and indecision. When individuals focus excessively on making everything flawless, they often overanalyze, overplan, or overcomplicate solutions. This leads to paralysis by analysis, where action is delayed indefinitely while theoretical solutions are considered. The market, however, responds to outcomes, not plans. Action generates measurable impact, while overthinking produces only anxiety and missed opportunities. By accepting that conditions will never be perfect, individuals are freed to focus on executing, testing, and adjusting in real time. This mindset transforms potential into tangible results and positions individuals to respond to real feedback rather than hypothetical scenarios. Frustration and fear of failure are natural when acting under imperfect conditions, but they are also catalysts for growth. Mistakes are inevitable when execution is not flawless, and rather than being deterrents, they are valuable sources of insight and learning. Each error exposes a gap, reveals a misjudgment, or highlights an inefficiency that can be corrected in future attempts. Waiting for perfection eliminates the opportunity to learn from these experiences and delays the development of skill, resilience, and competence. Those who embrace imperfect action view mistakes as a necessary part of the process, understanding that progress and improvement are cumulative and that each imperfect step builds capability and confidence. Consistency in action under non-ideal conditions is another critical factor. Progress is not defined by rare moments of peak performance, but by the accumulation of repeated efforts, even when the conditions are suboptimal. By acting consistently despite imperfections, individuals generate momentum that compounds over time. This momentum is self-reinforcing. Small results build confidence, experience, and resources, which enable further action and improvement. Waiting for ideal conditions delays this compounding process, while imperfect action accelerates it, positioning individuals for long-term growth and achievement. Decision-making is sharpened through action under imperfect conditions. When individuals act despite uncertainty or incomplete information, they are forced to prioritize, evaluate trade-offs, and make judgments based on real-world consequences. This develops critical thinking, problem-solving skills, and adaptability that can't be gained through preparation alone. Action provides immediate feedback, allowing individuals to refine strategies, correct course, and optimize outcomes in ways that theoretical planning cannot achieve. By contrast, waiting for ideal conditions fosters indecision and a false sense of readiness that rarely translates into measurable success. This principle also highlights the importance of courage and accountability. Acting without ideal conditions requires taking responsibility for the outcome. Regardless of uncertainty or risk, it requires acknowledging that mistakes may occur, that results may not be perfect, and that obstacles are inevitable. Yet, by embracing this responsibility and proceeding with action, individuals gain control over their progress and create opportunities that waiting could never provide. Action under imperfect conditions strengthens resilience, self-reliance, and the ability to navigate challenges proactively, establishing a track record of execution that commands credibility and respect. Moreover, acting without waiting for perfection fosters innovation and creativity. Constraints, incomplete resources, and uncertainty often force individuals to develop solutions that they would not have considered in ideal circumstances. The necessity to adapt, improvise, and overcome limitations encourages problem-solving and experimentation, which can lead to breakthroughs that perfect planning might never achieve. By engaging with the market, clients, or projects in real time, individuals discover needs, gaps, and opportunities that remain invisible when waiting for optimal conditions. Finally, the mindset of acting despite imperfect conditions separates high performers from those who remain stagnant. It emphasizes progress over comfort, execution over hesitation, and learning over theoretical planning. Those who embrace this approach accumulate experience, results, and credibility at a rate far higher than those who wait for perfect alignment. They understand that action is the engine of growth, that momentum is built through doing, and that the market rewards decisiveness and responsiveness far more than deliberation and delay. Success in any field demands a relentless focus on results rather than comfort, and this requires building habits and structures that prioritize execution above all else. Motivation and inspiration are unreliable. They fluctuate, and waiting for them to arrive before acting guarantees stagnation. Discipline, on the other hand, is a consistent force that drives progress regardless of emotional state. Developing discipline means creating systems and routines that ensure action happens even when energy is low, when frustration sets in, or when doubt clouds judgment. Those who achieve exceptional results recognize that success is not dependent on how they feel in the moment, but on what they do consistently over time. This understanding shifts the focus from seeking the right feelings to producing the right actions, which are measurable and tangible. Habits are the foundation of discipline. Successful individuals cultivate habits that reinforce productive behavior automatically, reducing reliance on motivation or fluctuating moods. A habit transforms an action from a choice into a default response, which ensures consistency. For example, someone committed to growth will schedule specific time blocks for high-value activities such as outreach, creation, or problem-solving, and follow through regardless of whether they feel inspired. Over time, these habits accumulate into compounding results. Action becomes the default, and the consistency of that action produces outcomes that far outweigh the impact of any temporary emotional surge. Another critical aspect is the separation of effort from outcome. People often tie their emotions to results, feeling discouraged when outcomes are not immediately visible or inflated by small victories. Discipline allows individuals to focus on the process rather than the immediate reward. The emphasis is on doing the work, executing the plan, and producing outputs that move objectives forward. By acting consistently, individuals create opportunities for feedback, learning, and iteration, which ultimately improves the likelihood of achieving desired results. The market and real-world systems respond to consistent execution, not fleeting bursts of effort fueled by temporary excitement. Consistency underlines the concept of resilience. Acting even when it is difficult builds the mental and emotional strength needed to persist through setbacks. Success is rarely linear. Challenges, failures, and obstacles are inevitable. Without discipline, these setbacks can derail progress, causing individuals to abandon projects, delay decisions, or lower their standards. Discipline ensures that action continues regardless of difficulty, which gradually transforms obstacles into manageable steps. Each act of perseverance reinforces the ability to maintain forward momentum in the face of adversity, creating a compounding advantage over those who rely solely on motivation or emotional highs. Time management and prioritization are also central to leveraging discipline effectively. Individuals with strong discipline recognize that not all actions produce equal value. They focus on high-leverage tasks that create the most impact and allocate their energy toward consistent execution of these activities. This requires identifying what truly drives results and removing distractions or low-value actions that consume time without generating meaningful outcomes. By structuring days, weeks, and projects around deliberate execution, they ensure that effort consistently translates into measurable progress, which the market, clients, and stakeholders respond to directly. The ability to execute under pressure is another hallmark of disciplined performance. Often the moments that define success are those in which conditions are less than ideal. Tight deadlines, limited resources, or high stakes. Discipline equips individuals to act reliably under these conditions because action becomes independent of emotional state. Instead of freezing in uncertainty or waiting for optimal circumstances, disciplined individuals respond proactively, making calculated decisions and taking necessary steps to advance objectives. This reliability and execution builds credibility and momentum, which further amplifies results over time. Decision-making benefits significantly from a disciplined approach. When actions are guided by consistent principles rather than fluctuating feelings, choices become clearer and more strategic. Discipline reduces the noise of temporary emotions, impulses, or distractions, allowing individuals to act based on logic, evidence, and long-term objectives. The clarity generated by disciplined execution ensures that actions are aligned with intended outcomes and that every decision contributes to measurable progress. Over time, this approach builds a pattern of effective decision-making, which reinforces competence and enhances the ability to achieve increasingly complex objectives. Another important element is accountability. Discipline instills a mindset of personal responsibility, where individuals recognize that results are contingent on their actions, not external circumstances or excuses. By committing to consistent execution, they internalize the principle that progress depends on what they do, not how they feel or what happens around them. This ownership drives further action, because the focus is on controllable inputs rather than uncontrollable factors. The repeated practice of taking responsibility for results creates a self-reinforcing loop, where accountability and action continuously strengthen one another. Discipline also fosters incremental improvement. Every act executed consistently provides data and feedback. By reviewing these results, identifying gaps, and making adjustments, individuals refine their approach over time. This iterative process accelerates growth and amplifies outcomes. Small, disciplined actions compound, producing exponential effects that far surpass the impact of sporadic bursts of effort, fueled by motivation. This is why top performers emphasize process, structure, and routine, understanding that mastery and results are built through disciplined repetition rather than sporadic inspiration. Finally, discipline underpins long-term vision and sustainability. Acting consistently, regardless of immediate feelings, ensures that progress continues even when challenges arise or emotional reserves are low. It allows individuals to navigate the inevitable fluctuations of life, business, and personal energy while maintaining forward momentum. By prioritizing action over emotion, they generate measurable outcomes, build resilience, and create a trajectory of success that is sustainable over time, which demonstrates that results are the product of relentless, disciplined execution rather than temporary emotional states. Failure and setbacks are inevitable components of any meaningful pursuit, and understanding this is critical to navigating the marketplace effectively. The market does not adjust for mistakes, hesitation, or miscalculations. Losses happen, deals fall through, and projects fail, yet the world moves forward with or without acknowledgement of these events. Many people interpret setbacks as signals to stop, to retreat, or to reconsider their path. But this mindset is a fundamental barrier to growth. The reality is that resilience, adaptability, and persistence are far more valuable than initial perfection or uninterrupted success. Experiencing failure does not diminish potential. It provides crucial information, exposes weaknesses, and illuminates opportunities for improvement. The most successful individuals understand that setbacks are not endpoints, but data points that, when analyzed and acted upon, accelerate learning and increase the probability of future success. Mistakes are often viewed with fear and frustration, but in reality, they are unavoidable in any domain where progress is being made. Every action, particularly those taken in uncertain or competitive environments, carries risk. Risk itself is not a flaw. It is an inherent part of achieving results. Waiting to act until certainty is guaranteed eliminates potential for growth and cedes advantage to those willing to embrace uncertainty. When mistakes occur, they provide immediate feedback on what works, what does not, and where adjustments are needed. This feedback loop is critical for improvement, and those who embrace it, rather than resist it, gain a substantial edge over competitors who interpret failure as a reason to stop rather than a signal to adapt. Persistence in the face of setbacks is what differentiates high performers from those who falter. Every individual who has achieved meaningful results has faced repeated failures, yet what separates them is the willingness to continue acting despite negative outcomes. The capacity to persist does not rely on favorable circumstances, emotional comfort, or external validation. It relies on internal commitment, discipline, and a focus on producing results regardless of temporary outcomes. Each action taken after a setback reinforces capability, builds momentum, and signals to the market and to oneself that progress is non-negotiable. Setbacks also provide clarity about priorities and strategy. When a project fails or an initiative falls short, the reasons for underperformance become apparent. This information allows for strategic adjustments, improved planning, and a better understanding of the dynamics at play. Without setbacks, individuals may continue along inefficient paths, misallocating resources or effort, without realizing the need for correction. Each failure acts as a natural corrective mechanism, highlighting gaps in execution, misaligned assumptions, or missed opportunities, and those who leverage this insight accelerate their progress through informed action rather than blind repetition. The psychological impact of failure is another factor to consider. While setbacks naturally produce discomfort, frustration, or self-doubt, the response to these emotions is what determines future outcomes. Allowing discouragement to dictate behavior leads to stagnation, whereas using it as fuel for renewed effort produces growth. High-performing individuals develop a mindset that views obstacles and failures as integral to the journey, rather than as personal indictments. They cultivate resilience, mental toughness, and the ability to remain focused on results despite emotional turbulence. The ability to separate emotion from action ensures that each setback becomes an opportunity for advancement rather than a reason for retreat. Learning from setbacks requires objectivity and honesty. It is essential to analyze outcomes without deflecting blame, minimizing errors, or overgeneralizing circumstances. Effective individuals review failures critically, identify patterns, and adjust processes accordingly. This approach transforms setbacks into stepping stones, producing cumulative knowledge and improved performance over time. By embracing an iterative approach, individuals convert negative experiences into actionable insights, which enhances decision-making, reduces the likelihood of repeating mistakes, and increases the probability of achieving desired outcomes in future attempts. Setbacks also serve as a test of commitment and consistency. The market does not provide consolation for failure, and opportunities often favor those who continue to execute despite adversity. Each step taken after a setback demonstrates dedication to results rather than attachment to comfort or validation. Momentum is not built in periods of ease. It is forged through repeated effort under challenging conditions. The capacity to maintain forward motion despite obstacles compounds over time, creating an advantage that those who retreat or wait for ideal conditions cannot replicate. Another important element is adaptability. Failure exposes the limitations of existing approaches and demands adjustment. Individuals who respond proactively to setbacks experiment with new strategies, explore alternative solutions, and refine their methods. This adaptability is a critical factor in long-term success, because environments, markets, and challenges are constantly evolving. Stubbornly adhering to a single approach in the face of repeated failure results in stagnation, whereas flexibility combined with persistence transforms setbacks into opportunities for innovation and growth. Resilience is strengthened through repeated exposure to failure. Each setback endured and overcome builds confidence in one's ability to handle adversity. The capacity to remain productive and focused despite unfavorable outcomes fosters a mindset that prioritizes action over fear. Individuals who develop this resilience are less likely to be deterred by future challenges, more likely to embrace risk, and increasingly capable of achieving results in uncertain and competitive environments. Failure, when approached correctly, becomes an instrument for cultivating endurance, strategic thinking, and self-reliance. Finally, setbacks redefine the value of success when it occurs. Experiencing obstacles, losses, and errors sharpens the appreciation for outcomes that are achieved through effort, persistence, and adaptation. Each success reached after repeated challenges is grounded in tangible experience and insight, making it more sustainable, replicable, and impactful. Those who internalize the lessons from setbacks develop a skill to navigate complex environments, maintain consistency under pressure, and leverage experience to maximize results in subsequent endeavors. Success is rarely the result of waiting for the perfect conditions or for problems to resolve themselves. It is earned by taking initiative and creating solutions even when circumstances are challenging, incomplete, or unpredictable. The market, customers, and opportunities respond to action, not intention. Waiting for the ideal moment or the perfect resources often leads to missed chances and delayed growth because progress requires the willingness to act decisively with what is available. The ability to solve problems for others, regardless of personal comfort or preparedness, is what separates high performers from those who merely aspire. Every effective leader, entrepreneur, or professional understands that value is created when action is taken, not when excuses are offered or hesitation prevails. Problem solving requires both creativity and decisiveness. Challenges rarely present themselves in a neat or predictable manner, and attempting to wait for clarity often results in lost opportunities. Individuals who act proactively are able to assess the situation, identify key constraints, and implement solutions that move objectives forward. Acting under pressure or with incomplete information forces learning, adaptation, and refinement. The initial solution may not be perfect, but it initiates progress and generates feedback, which allows subsequent adjustments to be more precise and effective. This iterative approach transforms uncertainty into actionable insight and positions individuals to capitalize on opportunities that others avoid due to fear of imperfection or risk. The willingness to take responsibility for solving problems is a defining characteristic of high performers. Many people avoid challenges because they fear failure, criticism, or exposure. They defer responsibility, hoping someone else will act or that circumstances will improve on their own. The market, however, does not reward passivity. Solutions and results are the metrics that matter. Taking ownership of a problem, committing to finding a solution, and executing on that commitment demonstrates accountability, competence, and initiative. It builds credibility with stakeholders, earns trust, and positions individuals as reliable contributors capable of delivering value under difficult circumstances. Action in problem solving also builds momentum. The first step toward a solution generates clarity about next steps and reduces ambiguity. Once an individual begins addressing a challenge, they gain insight into the system, identify additional constraints, and uncover opportunities that were not visible from a passive standpoint. Each successive action compounds learning and strengthens the capacity to handle increasingly complex problems. Waiting for the perfect conditions or the perfect plan often eliminates this momentum, leaving individuals in a state of indecision and inertia while the market continues to move forward. Problem solving under less than ideal conditions fosters resilience and adaptability. Challenges are rarely convenient, and obstacles are inevitable. Those who develop the habit of acting despite frustration, limited resources, or uncertainty cultivate mental toughness. They become capable of performing in high-pressure environments, responding creatively to unforeseen complications, and maintaining focus on results regardless of external difficulties. This resilience is a critical factor in achieving long-term success because it ensures continuous progress even when the path is obstructed or the outcomes are uncertain. Another element is the capacity to prioritize. Not all problems carry equal weight, and attempting to address every challenge simultaneously can lead to burnout or scattered effort. High performers are able to identify which problems are most critical to achieving results and allocate their time and resources accordingly. They act decisively on high-impact issues first, ensuring that effort is focused on areas where it produces the greatest measurable value. This strategic prioritization allows them to deliver solutions efficiently and effectively, creating tangible outcomes that reinforce credibility, build influence, and accelerate growth. Problem solving also enhances learning and skill development. Each challenge encounter provides an opportunity to analyze, experiment, and refine approaches. Successes teach what works, while failures reveal limitations or gaps that require attention. Individuals who embrace this mindset develop a cumulative skill set that increases their competence and confidence over time. The ability to navigate complex problems, adapt to changing circumstances, and generate actionable solutions becomes a competitive advantage that compounds with experience, creating a track record of reliability and effectiveness. Decision-making is strengthened through consistent problem solving. When individuals engage with challenges actively, they must evaluate options, assess potential outcomes, and choose a course of action despite uncertainty. This practice sharpens judgment, develops critical thinking, and fosters the ability to make high-quality decisions under pressure. Repeated exposure to real-world problems builds intuition, efficiency, and strategic foresight. allowing individuals to anticipate complications and respond proactively rather than reactively. Taking action despite discomfort or uncertainty also demonstrates leadership. People are naturally drawn to individuals who can address challenges confidently and competently. Solving problems creates influence because others recognize the value of results-oriented thinking. Leaders are not defined solely by authority or position. They are defined by their ability to deliver solutions when obstacles arise. By consistently acting to solve problems, individuals establish themselves as reliable decision-makers capable of generating value even in difficult or ambiguous situations. Proactive problem-solving reinforces accountability and ownership of outcomes. By focusing on solutions rather than excuses, individuals internalize the understanding that results depend on their actions, not external conditions or temporary feelings. Each step taken toward resolving a challenge creates evidence of capability, reinforces confidence, and strengthens the capacity to handle future difficulties. This approach transforms setbacks into opportunities for growth, positions individuals as competent contributors, and ensures that momentum is maintained even when challenges are complex or unexpected. Finally, consistent action and addressing problems cultivates a results-oriented mindset. Individuals learn to measure their effectiveness not by effort alone, but by tangible impact. They recognize that the value they create is defined by outcomes, and that the market, clients, and stakeholders respond exclusively to solutions and results. By committing to solving problems relentlessly, even in imperfect conditions, they develop the ability to produce consistent, measurable results that compound over time, reinforcing both personal growth and professional credibility. Success is built on the consistent delivery of value, not on comfort or emotional ease. And this principle requires embracing discomfort as an inherent part of progress. Comfort is a deceptive force because it lulls individuals into complacency, making them believe that minimal effort or a low level of engagement is sufficient for advancement. In reality, the path to meaningful achievement is rarely comfortable. High performance, innovation, and growth emerge from environments that challenge abilities, stretch limits, and demand persistence in the face of resistance. People who succeed understand that comfort is optional and that real progress is measured by outcomes, not by how effortless the process feels. Operating outside of comfort is a deliberate choice, one that produces results precisely because it is difficult and requires sustained effort. Discomfort often manifests as fear, uncertainty, fatigue, or doubt, and it is these very sensations that signal the areas in which growth occurs. Human beings naturally seek ease and predictability, yet the market and real-world challenges do not conform to these preferences. Waiting for comfort or ease before acting is a luxury that the highly competitive environment of business, creation, and personal achievement does not permit. Every opportunity, problem, and competitive advantage exists in a state that requires action, despite emotional or physical unease. Those who embrace discomfort understand that these challenging conditions are not obstacles to success, they are prerequisites. One critical aspect of functioning outside comfort is the ability to confront fear and uncertainty directly. Fear is a natural response to risk, change, and the unknown, but it does not diminish potential. Instead, it signals areas where attention and action are most needed. Individuals who act in spite of fear develop resilience, confidence, and the ability to make decisions under pressure. They learn to distinguish between rational assessment of risk and paralyzing doubt, using discomfort as a guide rather than deterrent. By taking decisive action even when conditions are uncomfortable, they position themselves to capture opportunities that others avoid, creating a competitive advantage that is difficult to replicate. Discomfort also accelerates skill development. The tasks and challenges that stretch capabilities the most are often those that feel the most uncomfortable. By confronting these challenges directly, individuals force themselves to learn, adapt, and improve. Each moment of resistance overcome becomes evidence of capability, reinforcing confidence, reinforcing the ability to handle increasingly complex problems. Comfort may allow for repetition of familiar tasks, but it rarely produces the breakthrough performance or competence necessary to achieve exceptional results. Those willing to embrace discomfort gain experience, mastery, and the ability to operate effectively in unpredictable, high-stakes environments. Another dimension is the role of accountability. Operating outside of comfort requires taking responsibility for outcomes and conditions that may feel challenging or unfavorable. High performers do not wait for ideal circumstances or optimal emotional states before delivering results. They internalize the principle that results are a product of deliberate action and consistent effort, not of convenience or ease. By consistently acting despite discomfort, individuals develop a mindset of ownership, learning to control inputs and maximize outputs regardless of emotional or environmental conditions. This mindset differentiates those who produce measurable success from those who merely dream about it. Embracing discomfort also fosters resilience in the face of external challenges. Setbacks, criticism, competition, and unpredictability are inherent aspects of any pursuit of significance. People who rely on comfort to guide action are easily deterred by obstacles, whereas those who are accustomed to pushing through difficult circumstances maintain focus and momentum. Repeated exposure to challenging conditions develops the ability to navigate uncertainty, maintain composure under pressure, and sustain effort when outcomes are not immediately apparent. Over time, this capacity becomes self-reinforcing as each instance of perseverance builds both competence and confidence, creating a foundation for continued achievement. Persistence in uncomfortable conditions is linked to the principle of compounding effort. Incremental progress, maintained consistently in the face of difficulty, produces results that multiply over time. Each step taken outside comfort contributes to skill, knowledge, and credibility, which then enables higher-level accomplishments. Waiting for ease or ideal conditions delays this compounding effect, whereas embracing discomfort ensures that momentum continues, producing measurable outcomes that accumulate and accelerate over time. Those who succeed understand that comfort is irrelevant to growth, and that consistent effort in challenging conditions is the mechanism through which results are realized. Discomfort also sharpens focus and decision-making. When conditions are easy or familiar, individuals may rely on routine, habits, or assumptions, potentially overlooking critical opportunities or inefficiencies. By contrast, challenging conditions demand attention, creativity, and problem-solving. Operating under discomfort forces individuals to prioritize effectively, evaluate trade-offs rigorously, and act decisively. This enhanced capacity for focus and strategic execution is a direct consequence of stepping beyond comfort and engaging with the demands of the situation. Furthermore, embracing discomfort develops a mindset of adaptability and flexibility. Change and uncertainty are inevitable, and those who are comfortable with discomfort are better equipped to pivot, adjust strategies, and respond proactively to unexpected developments. Rather than being derailed by difficulty or unpredictability, individuals accustomed to operating outside comfort leverage these conditions as opportunities to learn, innovate, and optimize their approach. The ability to thrive in dynamic and challenging environments becomes a competitive advantage as it enables sustained performance regardless of external circumstances. Operating beyond comfort also strengthens perseverance and mental toughness. Consistently taking action in conditions that are uncomfortable reinforces the capacity to endure, persist, and maintain momentum over the long term. Challenges that initially feel overwhelming gradually become manageable as individuals develop resilience, competence, and confidence in their ability to navigate adversity. This capacity to sustain effort despite discomfort is a defining characteristic of high achievers, and it ensures that progress continues even when immediate results are not visible or conditions are difficult. Finally, focusing on outcomes rather than comfort ensures alignment with the demands of the market and the expectations of stakeholders. Clients, customers, investors, and collaborators respond to results, not to how easy or comfortable the process feels. Delivering value consistently, even under challenging circumstances, establishes credibility, builds trust, and demonstrates capability. Those who embrace discomfort understand that real achievement requires action, persistence, and resilience, and they develop the skills, habits, and mindset necessary to produce results in conditions that are far from ideal. Opportunities in the market are fleeting, and the ability to act decisively often determines who succeeds and who falls behind. Waiting for conditions to be perfect, for timing to feel right, or for all signals to align is a common trap that prevents progress. The reality is that the market moves continuously, and those who hesitate or overanalyze are consistently overtaken by individuals who are willing to act despite uncertainty. Recognizing that action, not intention or preparation alone, drives outcomes is a fundamental mindset of high performers. Opportunities are not obligated to wait for readiness, and the ability to seize them often requires embracing discomfort, uncertainty, and incomplete information. Acting decisively ensures that potential is converted into tangible results, while hesitation often guarantees missed chances. Timing is a critical component of success, and is closely tied to action. In competitive environments, the first mover frequently gains a substantial advantage. Acting quickly allows individuals to capture attention, test ideas in real-world conditions, and refine solutions before others have an opportunity to respond. Waiting for ideal circumstances, additional resources, or perfect conditions often delays entry, which reduces the potential impact of any initiative. Those who recognize that the market will not pause develop the habit of prioritizing action over waiting. They accept that mistakes and adjustments are inevitable and view execution as the fastest path to learning, improvement, and measurable results. The ability to act despite uncertainty distinguishes high performers from those who hesitate. Uncertainty is inherent in all meaningful endeavors. No plan is foolproof, no market completely predictable, and no outcome guaranteed. Individuals who succeed develop comfort with acting in conditions of ambiguity, using the information available to make informed decisions and adjusting as new data emerges. Waiting for certainty is a form of inaction that delays growth and cedes advantage to competitors. Action, even when imperfect or incomplete, generates feedback, builds momentum, and provides insight that cannot be obtained through prolonged deliberation or hesitation. Decisive action also signals confidence and reliability to others. Customers, clients, investors and collaborators respond to individuals who take initiative and produce results rather than those who procrastinate or overanalyze. Being proactive in addressing challenges or pursuing opportunities establishes credibility and fosters trust. Those who consistently act gain influence, attract resources, and position themselves as leaders capable of generating solutions under pressure. In contrast, hesitation or excessive caution is often interpreted as indecisiveness or lack of capability, which can reduce opportunities and limit growth. Action in the absence of perfect conditions is also a catalyst for innovation. When individuals proceed without waiting for ideal circumstances, they are often forced to improvise, adapt, and explore creative solutions. Constraints and imperfect conditions challenge assumptions and require problem-solving that can uncover novel approaches or efficiencies. Many breakthroughs in business, technology, and personal achievement have arisen from acting decisively despite incomplete information or limited resources. Waiting for perfect alignment often suppresses creativity and delays discovery, whereas decisive execution fosters experimentation, learning, and refinement. Momentum is built through consistent action. Each step taken generates measurable progress and contributes to a compounding effect over time. Individuals who act decisively create a pattern of movement where each completed task or achieved milestone builds the foundation for subsequent opportunities. Hesitation interrupts momentum, and the time lost waiting for ideal conditions cannot be regained. By acting proactively, individuals ensure that progress continues, insights accumulate, and opportunities expand, reinforcing their capacity to achieve increasingly complex goals. Accountability is reinforced through decisive action. Individuals who take responsibility for outcomes understand that results are dependent on what they do, not on circumstances, comfort, or motivation. By acting consistently, they internalize the principle that progress requires effort, initiative, and commitment. This mindset eliminates the tendency to blame external factors or wait for external validation and fosters self-reliance, discipline, and a focus on producing measurable impact regardless of conditions. Risk management is a natural component of decisive action. Acting quickly does not mean acting recklessly. High performers assess the available information, weigh potential consequences, and make informed decisions that maximize potential benefit while mitigating foreseeable risks. Even when outcomes are uncertain, action produces clarity and feedback, allowing for adjustment and refinement. Hesitation, on the other hand, delays learning, extends exposure to competition, and often amplifies risk by forfeiting the first-mover advantage or missing critical windows of opportunity. The habit of acting decisively underpins adaptability. Environments, markets, and circumstances are constantly changing, and those who rely on preparation alone often struggle to respond effectively. Decisive action builds agility because it forces engagement with real-world dynamics, encourages rapid iteration, and develops the ability to pivot based on feedback. Those who cultivate this habit are better equipped to navigate volatility, capitalize on emerging opportunities, and maintain forward momentum in dynamic conditions. Persistence is reinforced through repeated decisive action. The process of consistently taking initiative, evaluating results, and adjusting approaches builds resilience, confidence, and competence. Individuals who embrace this mindset understand that temporary setbacks or mistakes are part of the process, and that momentum and results are produced through sustained engagement rather than waiting for ideal conditions. Each act of decisive execution strengthens the capacity to perform under pressure, manage uncertainty, and produce measurable outcomes, creating a cycle of continuous improvement and growth that compounds over time. Finally, recognizing that the market does not wait cultivates a results-oriented mindset. Individuals who internalize this principle measure their progress by tangible outcomes rather than intentions, plans, or comfort. They understand that value is created through action, initiative, and execution, and that the ability to convert potential into results depends on their willingness to act decisively. Even when conditions are imperfect, risks exist, or uncertainty is high. This focus on outcomes rather than circumstances ensures that effort consistently translates into measurable impact, positioning individuals to capture opportunities, produce results, and achieve success in environments where hesitation would be costly. The truth is simple: the market doesn't wait, it doesn't sympathize, and it certainly doesn't reward hesitation. Progress, growth, and success are earned by those who act decisively, consistently, and relentlessly, regardless of how they feel, how perfect the conditions are, or how comfortable it is. Every moment spent waiting, doubting, or hoping for easier circumstances is a moment lost, while every action taken under pressure, uncertainty, or discomfort compounds into results that cannot be ignored. Mastery, momentum, and meaningful achievement are built by embracing the reality that execution is the only currency the world respects, and that those willing to act when others hesitate are the ones who shape outcomes, create opportunities, and leave a lasting mark.